Welcome back to my channel. This is Tiffanie Travels, where we help women and families build wealth, travel, and live richer. So today we have an exciting show. We're here with Minerves on the move, and they moved to Ethiopia, and they're going to tell you about how they did it.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hey Tiffany.
Hey, so you can start by just introducing yourself.
Okay, sure. My name is Ian Minerve,
And I'm Jocelyn Minerve.
and we are 2/5 of Minerves on the Moves because we do include our children.
Yep, so we have our three kids, Monty, 10, Natalie, 7, and Amari, who is 5.
Good. Okay. So thank you for talking with us. I have so many questions about your move. So why did you pick Ethiopia?
Oh, that was my fault. um, Originally we had some other prospects in mind. However, we chose to go to this fair, this what do you call it, Love? The fair.
The fair. It was a fair. That's what I call it.
The ISS fair. And it just really wowed us just being at the fair and being able to see all these different schools from all around the world and just having the opportunity to be in person at this type of fair, because in the past we've done affairs before. However, when we did those fairs, it was virtual because of COVID. So this was like our first live fair, and it was amazing. It really knocked our socks off, and I felt pulled by the Ethiopia table as well as some others, but Ethiopia, the way the representatives reached out to us, I just felt really connected. And so Dustin felt connected towards some other schools. And so we hashed it out, wrote our list of pros and cons, and eventually I weighed Jocelyn down. I was like, hey, we're going to Ethiopia.
And I'm going to add on to that because I feel like Ian's kind of being a little vague, talking about the fair a lot. But I think we really zoned in on Ethiopia because, like, the culture, the people, we're surrounded by Black greatness, which is like really important to us. Like, we want our kids to see value in their skin color, in their culture, in their heritage. And, you know, growing up in the States, I feel like you can only see that if you are in, you know, Atlanta and HBCU. Like, it's very specific. And being in Ethiopia, we're in a country where, you know, the people who run the country are Black. The people who own the restaurants, the schools, the prime minister, like the children at the school, they see themselves everywhere. Whether that's someone who is wealthy, someone who is poor, someone who speaks Amharic, someone who speaks Swahili. So I think it was really important for me, at least as a mother, for my children to see themselves everywhere they went and to see, again, greatness. So I wouldn't really say it was a fault. I think that in the, you know, we went to this fair, we met with all these schools and all these countries from around the world, but I think that's really why we chose Ethiopia.
Okay, we have a comment here from Adventures and Everyday Life with Sebi and Mami. I'm so happy
my gosh,
So happy for you guys. We love you. We miss you. Sending tons of love from Honduras. Keep doing you.
Yay! Oh my gosh, I miss them so much, and I love Honduras so much.
Yeah.
So when Ian was saying like Jocelyn was being pulled away from another table, what he's really saying is like I wasn't ready, and I talk about this in one of our most recent videos. Like I wasn't ready to leave Latin America, and I was like had a one track of like I'm ready to just go back to Honduras, and this is where I want to go, and we were like this close to going, but Ian like I guess he won me over.
Okay, so you went to the fair, and then there were a bunch of different countries there, and they were showcasing the different schools and the different opportunities that they have from all around the world. And then you chose Ethiopia. So how are the schools in Ethiopia different from the schools in the US? For example, in the US, we have public education. It's free. There's also private education, but some countries don't have even free education for everyone. So like, what is it like there? Do you pay for education? And also like, what is the education, the experience like compared to the US in terms of the rigor of the curriculum and what they prepare you for academically in Ethiopia?
I think I'll jump on this question first. I would say, I mean, there's a lot of similarities and differences, and it goes beyond Ethiopia. So there's public schools. Hey, there's public schools, there's private schools, there's religious schools. I think you're going to get those type of schools in any country that you go to. So even when we were in Latin America, there was an international school there. There was a Catholic school there. There was a public school there. I can't really speak on something that I haven't experienced, so I don't really like to speak on like this is what the public school is like because I don't work at the public school.
Right.
But what I do know is even in the United States, at this point, I'm honestly getting angry with the public school system. I feel like it's failing our children. I don't think it's doing enough. There's not enough emphasis on social and emotional growth and learning. I don't like how we're so standardized, state test driven. I'm not okay with that. I think that the public school in the States, and I'm a big advocate of like, we should use the public school system. Our kids always went to public school in the States. I went to public school almost my entire life, except for 2 years of my high school. But from an outsider looking in, what I can say is there is a discrepancy, or there's a huge difference going to a public school in Ethiopia and a private school in Ethiopia. But that would be the same thing in the States. A public school in a certain part of Atlanta is not going to give you the same education or resources as a private school. So as far as the international school, and I think I've been really lucky because I actually worked at the Atlanta International School in Georgia, and now I work at the international school in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. It's amazing. I love, and people, it's hard. They ask questions, but you don't know what you don't know. And you're going to believe what you hear. And so people will ask, like, what is the school like? Do they have classrooms? Are there buildings? Do you have cars? Yeah, we have all those things here. And I would say the school that I'm at right now is one of the best schools that I've worked at in my entire teaching career, as far as rigor, diversity, inclusivity, and not just like racial. Like when we think of diversity, we think of like black and white. But when we think of like socioeconomically, we have kids who are extremely wealthy, and we have kids who are on scholarship. We have kids who are from the States who are black, but we have kids who are black from Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, the UK. We have kids who are not black, who are from Georgia, the country, Scotland, the Netherlands, Italy. So even linguistically, it's diverse. I think there's like, I don't want to put a number, but I want to say like more than 30 languages spoken.
Wow.
Like, in my son's classroom, there's like 12 different languages spoken. The language that we communicate with is English, but there's so many languages spoken at the school. So I think that's the first time that I'm at a true international school where like everyone's from everywhere.
Yes.
That is.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I think for me, just speaking, comparing to the international schools we've been to, I really love and appreciate, yes, that it's truly an international school with all these diverse countries and students. And then I also appreciate this approach they have to learning called a hub in the elementary school, where you have several different teachers. In my case, I teach 4th grade, and there's 3 teachers, and we just have an open space. There's no walls. All of 4th grade are able to get a sample of each teacher throughout the entire school year. And so we work together and we teach and we collaborate in and out of units, subjects. And it's been mind-blowing to see how these kids are able to take from 3 different professionals all at once throughout the school year and apply it real time. So I've been enjoying it, learning a lot, and just loving the community. I feel like there's a lot of support from admin. I feel like there's a lot of support from the school community.
So we have a question here. Johnny says, what are the challenges with all the different languages?
So I just will take this question. So I'm a language acquisition teacher at the school. So I actually teach Spanish for the middle years program. So I teach 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th grade Spanish to our students. And another language that's offered is French as well as Amharic at different levels. So I think how they tackle that first is we have a language policy. So students who are coming in, first you need to have some proficiency in the English language. So if you're coming from France and you spent your whole life in France and you only speak French, or they're not going to like dump someone who just speaks absolutely no English into like math classes to be shocked. So we have a policy for people coming in depending on their proficiency and level and level of the English language. Once you're able to show proficiency, whether that's getting support through ELA instruction, then you can integrate into like a second language class. But I don't really see it as a challenge with all the different languages. I actually see it as an opportunity at our school. One of the worries that I had before coming to Ethiopia was, oh my gosh, my youngest is fluent in Spanish, my oldest is fluent in Spanish. They've been speaking Spanish forever, and now we're going to go to Ethiopia and they're going to forget it all.
Right.
But they're not, because there's so many opportunities, because they can talk to kids who are from Spain, who are from Guatemala, who are from Honduras, who are from Colombia, who go to my school, teachers who work at the school who are from Latin America, whose first language is Spanish. They also offer these heritage language programs. Mm-hmm. So once a week, you'll see kids, let's say their first language is all French. Mm-hmm. They all go after school, because Wednesday is a short day, where they spend like an hour and a half doing language learning in that target language. Right. So that could be French, that could be Japanese, that could be Spanish, that could be Dutch, that could be German. So my kids go off into the Heritage Spanish Language Program, and they're basically getting like Spanish school at the school. Right. So I really think it's just opportunities for kids to, one, maintain their second language, their heritage language, but also they come and they really can speak in English, because that's the language that connects everyone. So they're on the playground speaking English. They're talking to them in the cafeteria speaking English. So I see it as an opportunity more than a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of our viewers asked, how many languages do you speak and your children?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll let you go. This is easy.
Well, our family, minus me, speaks English and Spanish. Hablo en español es un poquito.
He tries.
I try.
Ian, we moved to Honduras, and he learned the most important things. He can order an extra crispy chicken sandwich from Pollo Campero. He can say, pass me the ball, when he's playing basketball. So he's important Spanish. But my kids and I are all English, Spanish speakers. I actually studied Japanese and German in college. But if you don't use it, you sadly lose it. You lose it. And right now we're learning Amharic, so I can speak I'm like this just like him. I can order one coffee, a latte. I can count up to 4. Mm-hmm. I can ask how much something is. How are you? What are you doing? So I'm learning like little phrases in Amharic. My youngest is always surpassing us all.
Yeah.
So.
Too cute. Okay. And then how do your children adjust to each move?
Mm-hmm.
I think it varies from child to child. So the general consensus, from my perspective, Jocelyn might have a different perspective, is they love to travel.
Yeah.
And it's at a point in their lives now where they look forward to it. And we research usually countries that we're interested in as a family. We ask them, what do they see? What do they notice? What do they like? And we go from there.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Ian's the dad. So he's just like, they'll be fine. I think I was more worried about it. Like, oh my gosh, we're moving so much. They've been so many places. But when I think about my childhood, because my parents were in the military, I think I went to like 8 different schools. So I moved a lot within our country. Uh-huh. Our kids have not been to 8 different schools so far. I don't think they will. But like Ian said, I think that, one, they look forward to the move, we prepare them for the move, and we make them a part of the process, which is, I think, very important. They're very conscious of everything. So I think at this point, this is their normal. Mm-hmm. If you have a child and they've been in the same town, on the same street, on the same home, and they lived in that house for 15 years with the same friends, mm-hmm. I think that would be that would impact them a lot more. Do I think they'd be adjustable and flexible? Yes. Children are a lot more resilient than we think they are. However, this is my kid's new normal. So Monty, our oldest, he's like, oh, I wonder where I want to go for high school. Maybe we'll go to Japan. Like, he is just like, oh, I don't know, I want to go to college. Like, he's
very open-minded.
Exactly. Like,
very,
I don't,
very open-minded.
Which sometimes makes me sad because I think of like us in our old age and like our kids living on 3 different continents.
It's highly likely.
Like, yeah, I just see them like, I see my oldest in Asia. Yeah. I see my youngest in Latin America, and I just see my daughter somewhere really cold.
Yeah.
So how old is your oldest?
He's 10.
And your youngest?
5.
So you said your youngest adjusts to the language pretty easily.
It's freakishly easy. Honestly, that's my biggest. If I could go back in time, we kept being like, oh, the kids are too young. They're too young. We can't move them. If I go back in time, we should have went abroad when those kids were babies, because like you make friends and they pick up the language so fast. So our oldest always spoke Spanish because I always spoke Spanish to my oldest.
Okay.
I don't know what happened with the other 2. So when we went overseas, my youngest didn't speak Spanish, but within like 4 months, he was speaking fluent Spanish, like correcting me. Oh, accent, grammar. It was freakishly fast.
It's something about that full immersion. Especially if you're interested in traveling to a new country. Be particular about the type of accent you want them to have too. So for example, let's say you wanted to learn French, however, you chose to go to Cameroon in Africa. And when you did that, you would have that French accent that's more like Cameroon, versus if you go to France, the accent's different. Still French, but that accent is different. So just something to be mindful of.
Yeah, even Spanish, like going to Spain and going to like Puerto Rico or Honduras, it would be the Barcelona or the Spanish accent with the it's very, I can't.
I know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what you're talking about.
I feel like I had to relearn Spanish when we were in Dominican Republic, which is funny because I'm a Spanish teacher. I have a degree in Spanish, and when I was in Dominican Republic, I was like,
"There's a lot to learn."
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we have another question here from Johnny. Let's see. With the moving, is it affecting their grades or their learning ability? I was wondering this too, with like comparison to where they would be in the US. Are they advanced with these international schools? Like if you talk to, I don't know if they have cousins or your friends with the same age, are they talking about the same things that they're learning? Or
I love this question.
Go for it, babe.
So I feel like there's 2 parts to this question. One is like comparing our kids' learning to other students. So we actually were able to, we were able to see this because they do have cousins and stuff. I do think that my kids, obviously I'm biased, they have been exposed to much more because we are working at these international schools. So when I worked in Honduras, EIS was one of the #1 schools in the country. ICS is one of the #1 schools in the country. If I would argue in Africa.
Me too.
I promise you, they were not going to the #1 school in Georgia. So like if you have access, you should be able to, take advantage of those resources and opportunities. That being said, we've lived in 3 countries now: Honduras. Right now we're in Ethiopia, and we did spend time in Dominican Republic. We did not go to we weren't at an international school. We weren't at the #1 school. We were just going to a school in Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of this question is like, if my kids would have stayed, if they would have never made that transition, like how would their education be different? So we were actually, sadly, we left Dominican Republic because my stepfather got ill. He was terminally ill, so I stayed with him by his side and helped him as long as with other family members until he recently passed. So for those 6 months that we were in the States, we put my kids back into public school.
Yep.
The same public school that my youngest, when we left Indiana, because we were in Indiana at the time, he was in kindergarten. So he hadn't been in public school since he was in kindergarten. He went back to that same school 5 years later. And that was like one of the best schools. I loved that school.
Public school, by the way.
Public school. When we went back, there is, everyone knows MAP testing, NWEA, where they test all the kids.
Mhm.
My kids tested high in the entire state that they were accepted into this high ability school in the district. These kids had not been getting their education from school in the States. So when people say, oh, America's the best at this, America's the best at that, I'm not saying that we're not great at some things, but I'm also saying that there are countries that are doing equally, if not better. So my kids had not been in. My daughter Natalie, she never went to school in the States because she was too young. Same thing with Amari. She
Okay.
did first grade for 6 months when we were back, and again, she also tested in high ability school, higher than the kids in the entire state of Indiana. Her scores.
Wow. That says a lot, right? That says a lot about the other countries in their educational system.
Yes.
Which leads us into, this is my mom, leads us into my mom's question here. What
Hey, Mom.
grades are your children in? Hi, Mom. And is it the same as it would be in the States? Like, so, you know, they're here where we go by age. So your third grade, will be 8 years old. Over there,
Right.
is it kind of similar with the international school? Because around the world, they start school at different ages. So if you're going to an international school, then how does that work?
That's a great question. So at our current school right now, there's, what would you call it? Like a preschool where they call it the EYs, or early learning years. And so you have, I think it starts at age 3. So EY3, EY4, and EY5. Then after EY5, which where our youngest is right now, you'll transition into first grade. So
Okay.
EY5 is kind of like the equivalent to kindergarten, I believe. And then you start first grade, second grade, so on and so forth, which is parallel to how it is in the States.
Yeah.
However, we've been to some schools where I was teaching I was teaching first grade, but their age bracket, if you compared it to the States, would be similar to like pre-K. So it varies from school to school. At the school we're currently at, that's how it is.
So to answer your question, the grades that the kids are in kindergarten, second grade, and fifth grade. So it's the exact same grade they would be if they were in the States.
Okay. Okay. And so you said you moved to Honduras and also Dominican Republic. So are there other countries you would consider moving, and why?
Yes.
I think the biggest why is because now that we've moved to other places, like once you go other places, you meet people who are like you. Like at home, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. Like we're all working.
It's a very good.
Yeah.
We're trying to pay off debt, usually student loans. We're trying to buy a house. Most of us are living paycheck to paycheck. We don't got a lot in savings, and we think like life has to be a certain way. But then you go overseas and like you move to Honduras and you meet people who are coming from Netherlands, people who are coming from Nicaragua, and people who are coming from Brazil, and people who are coming from Switzerland. And you're like, I never thought about any of those countries in my life. And they talk about them and you hear about them like, I never thought about what the Netherlands was like when I lived in Indiana.
That's true.
But now I'm like, I really want to visit the Netherlands because of Rainier. And so, now we're in Ethiopia. It's like, oh my gosh, Kenya's so awesome.
Mombasa.
Tanzania is amazing. What about West Africa? Like it would be close. So I think that I'm so open to other countries. And I know that because we do have children, I still think that it's good to have like some stability. I wouldn't want to move every 6 months. So we're going to be here a while with our kids. But I also I want my kids to go to the same high school. So when I think about moving again, I think about like my son being in high school, and I fell in love with Latin America. Ian is like in love with Honduras. Like he wants to go back there so bad. Like I have nothing bad to say about Honduras. But I fell in love so bad with Cabrera, which is a small town in the Dominican Republic. Like we love it so much. So I could totally see us in the future, not right now, but going back to Latin America for a while. And I think we both agreed that once the kids are out of the house, we're empty nesters, we're just gonna like go everywhere.
Yes.
Like that's when we'll pick up and be like, Now let's go to Thailand and Taiwan, and we're just gonna go everywhere.
Ethiopia is definitely home now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Quick top three are probably, I know, Mombasa, Kenya, because I
He
recently
loves
went
that
there,
place.
and I just love the rich culture that just, it was amazing.
He's not loyal to
I'm
Ethiopia.
open to Senegal in Africa,
Yeah.
and would like to try out Guatemala.
Yeah. My top
Those are my
three
top
are
three.
where we have been. I love Ethiopia, but I love Honduras and I love
Yeah.
DR, and I just want them all to merge together and for all of our friends to come together.
There you have it.
Okay, so when you were moving, it sounds like Dominican Republic was first, and then Honduras, and then Ethiopia.
Yes.
So when you were getting ready to move, were your friends and family supportive of your decisions? I mean, I moved from New York to Florida, and people were like, "You're crazy. You're gonna move back." So, like, if
Mhm.
you're moving to another country, what was like? Were they supportive?
You want to tackle it first?
No, they weren't. I think the only person who was supportive was my dad, and I have to say that because he's on the live, and he'll be like, "I was supportive," and he was.
Shout out to
But
Dad.
also, he's like the black sheep of the family who does crazy things like me. Like, he's the person who was get up and move, and he'll do whatever he wants, and he believes in himself. Like, my dad has never questioned my judgment ever in anything. I can honestly say without a shadow of a doubt that any decision that I've ever made, my dad was just like, "Okay, no questions asked." Like, he's the guy, like, you'll learn from your mistakes, which I love about him. Nobody else is like that. Nobody else is like that. My mom will tell you, like, "Well, have you thought of this or that? You got to have a plan B, a C, a D." She will think of the worst things in the world. And I think, like, my cousins and my aunts and uncles, and they're like, and I think they do it not to, like, be mean or be
With
like
good
a
intentions,
hater.
very good
It's all good
intentions.
intentions. Like, I'm a mother. I'm worried if my kids were like, "I'm moving to a foreign country that you've only heard bad things about. I don't speak the language, and you're never going to see me. And I'm taking your grandkids." Like, so I think it comes from a place of love. I don't think it comes from like a place of ill intent. So I don't think they were supportive the first move. I think they were worried the first move. And then once we got to Honduras, so, like, speaking of my mom, she is like the biggest, like, "I love Honduras. I can live there forever. That's the best country ever," because she came to visit us and was like, "This is nice. This is nice." Like, so I think after the first move, they were like, "Do it. Just like, do it. I want you to go everywhere."
Yeah, and I think similar. My dad was very supportive of us going.
Something about dads.
Something about dads. Hopefully, I carry the torch. But yeah, my dad was very supportive. He said, why not? And I guess my dad's a little different because he's from Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
So he had made that move to the States.
Mhm.
So he, I think, had that experience to be able to say, "Oh yeah, if the grass is greener over there, go look what's over there and check it out."
Yeah.
And then I think siblings were supportive, but then as Jocelyn was saying, just concerned, like, "Well, are you sure that you're sure that you want to take your whole family now and do this?"
And anyone who's thinking about moving abroad, whether you're with family, with friends, hey, Stephanie, and you yourself are doubting, you yourself are hesitant. Like, I always tell people this is, and I've said this a million times, a million podcasts. You are not a tree. You will not get roots and just stuck there forever and can never move again. All of our jobs, unless you are a CEO of a billion-dollar company, are replaceable, and you just go back. I'm a teacher. There's a teacher shortage. I can just go back. When we came back, when my stepdad was terminally ill, we had like 7 offers in like 2 minutes. Like, there are positions open right now. So you can leave, and if it doesn't work, you should go right back to your old life. So if your whole family's right that it's dangerous, it's not safe, you're not going to make it, it's not good for the kids, they just go back. That's all you have to do, is just go back. So
Right.
I think it's you have to have the tools to just block it out, to block out that, and you have to do it. Otherwise, you'll just be thinking like, you'll be 60 one day and be like, "I wish I would have, could have, should have." But even if you are 60, you can still do it.
Yeah. Were you guys always on the same page? Because I see a lot of solo travelers. And then I think with couples, sometimes it's harder. Maybe one is more willing to leave, one is more adventurous, and the other one is like, I like the house, go to work, come home life.
That was me. You just described me. I'm part of what you were sharing.
Yeah.
So honestly, if I'm being honest with myself and the viewers, I was afraid. I was afraid of what something really good that could happen out of moving with our kids, and obviously all the things really bad that could happen with moving with our kids into this foreign land, into this foreign culture.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think what sold it for me, what really started to change my fixed mindset, because it was fixed,
Yes. Nagging him to death,
into a growth mindset, was honestly just taking a trip with my spouse, just me and Jocelyn. We went to Tulum, Mexico, and that was the first trip that I had taken in my personal life where it wasn't family related in some strange way. It wasn't tied to the States. It was truly outside of the States, me and her, and being engrossed in that particular community. And I had a blast.
Yeah.
And after we went on that trip, my wheels really started turning of, well, what would this be like if it wasn't just a vacation, but I made this a destination to live?
Yeah. So have you ever seen that movie with Chris Rock? And like these guys, what's that where J-Lo's pregnant? What is that? What to expect when expecting. And so like it's like a group of guys and they're all hanging out and they're all married and their husbands. And one of the husbands is like, oh, my wife and I are gonna go look at houses. We're not buying a house. And they're all like, when your wife says you're looking at houses, you're gonna buy a house. And so he's like, you're buying a house. And so I think that was it, is like, I always knew I wanted to go abroad. I knew that this wasn't the life for me. I had a different life. It wasn't routine and mundane and like house and picket fence. And so I think the trip to Mexico, which I don't know why it took us so long to just go to Mexico. We went, that was great. But then being like, we're just going to go to the fair. We're not going to take a job. We're just going to see what there is. And then we got offers and we went. So I think that really helped. But yeah, for sure. And it's funny because, you know, if you've been married for a while, and Ian and I have known each other since we're 18, you become totally different people. So now he's the one who's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I want to do fun stuff. And I'm like, I just want routine. I desperately just want routine. I want to come home and do the same thing. I don't want anything exciting or no.
Thank you, Team Beyond Fitness. We appreciate it.
They're proud of you. Okay, so another follow-up to that. So when you guys moved, did you have your family? You said some of your family came, but did a lot of family and friends come? Because I'm doing research here through you guys. I'm like, how do I get my partner to move? He's always talking about, I'll never see my friends again. I'm like, I think you will. I think you'll see them again.
We just made a face at each other because we had so many people come visit us.
Yeah.
Like every time we had a break, and we love our friends and we invited them. But we were like, we just gotta start lying to people and be like, we're working. We don't have no breaks. Like it's different here in Honduras. Like we were just like gonna lie because like my mom came to visit before my stepdad passed. He came to visit. My dad came to visit. Our friends came to visit. My soror came to visit. Yeah, with their kids. And like when we moved to Honduras, that was a really big factor why we went there. People are always like, well, how did you end up in Africa? Well, just Latin America was so easy. Like the flight from Atlanta to Honduras is like 3 hours.
Right. Very doable for everybody, including kids.
Yeah. So people came and visit all the time. I don't think that many people will come visit us in Ethiopia. So it's October and no one has came to visit us yet.
Not yet.
But in Honduras, it would have been like 5 people had already visited us. It was crazy.
That's funny. Okay. All right. I'll keep that in mind. And we have Holland wants to know, how do the kids like the food?
So this is the thing. The kids don't even like food in America. Like in America,
That's
they
very
just
true.
like Thanksgiving dinner, I'm just gonna eat a roll. And you know the food is good at Thanksgiving dinner. So like I think that's a bad like I like the kids don't my kids don't like the food anywhere.
They're
So
picky
yeah,
eaters.
so my oldest, he eats everything. So he loves the food. He likes
Mhm.
tibs, he likes injera, he likes everything that we eat in Ethiopia.
Mhm.
The other two, they don't like anything anyways. Like they just want to eat yogurt all day.
Yeah,
So they're not a fan of food in Ethiopia. But what I do know is everywhere we went, they were not a fan. Like
that's
when we
true.
moved to Honduras, they did not like baleadas. By the time we left Honduras, they were like, oh, baleadas.
Mm.
We went to Dominican Republic, they were like, Mommy, I don't like habichuelas. We moved, they want habichuelas. So they don't like the food
Yeah.
right now.
Okay. Okay. Give it a couple months.
Yeah, give it
Mhm.
a couple months.
Okay. Do you guys eat with your hands? Because every time I see like Ethiopians at a table, it's always some carb type dish and scooping up some
Yeah.
lentils. Do you guys do that?
Uh, you're looking at me.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm eating Ethiopian food, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And there's a skill to it because a group of
Yeah,
Ethiopians made fun of me. Like,
and me.
of how
Like
you
you,
like pick up the
it's
injera.
it's
It's a
technique.
skill.
It's technique.
Okay.
Can you eat chopsticks like this? Yeah, but people would
Mhm.
look at you funny. You can just poke chopsticks and so like you can just like rip injera up, but you got to do like one hand and like move. You use this
Mhm.
part to rip it. Like,
Yeah, and it just depends on the dish. A lot of the traditional dishes, yes, you would use your hands,
mhm,
and some of them you don't.
yeah. And we live in Addis Ababa,
Mhm.
and Addis Ababa is like living in the New York of
Mhm.
Ethiopia. Like it's a big city. There's like a million people here. I wish I knew the statistics because I want to say it's like a billion people here. There's so many
It's a
people
lot of
here,
people.
and the city is humongous. So like in America, people eat American food, but Americans also eat Thai food, Italian food, Mexican food,
Right.
Chinese food. So in Addis, you don't have to eat Ethiopian food. Do I eat Ethiopian food? Of course. It's everywhere, just like American food is everywhere in America.
Mhm.
But we order sushi, we order orange chicken, we order pasta, chicken marsala.
Yep.
So you can eat that in the cafeteria. I typically go for the Ethiopian food.
Mhm.
Like I rather just get some injera, some eggs, some shiru, some tibs, and eat it. He orders an egg sandwich. So yeah,
There you go.
Okay. Did you eat Ethiopian food before you moved there?
I hadn't.
No,
You didn't eat it? I thought you did.
no. I mean, I had it as a child just because living in New York, eating at
Yes.
somewhere's house. However, like as an adult in a restaurant, no.
Yeah, so we had it's so funny because we were offered a position in Ethiopia when we were at the fair in New York.
Oh yeah,
And like
I
everyone was
forgot
like,
about
"Oh, you
that.
should try this Ethiopian restaurant," because New York has every type of food.
Yep.
So we had planned to, and then we got busy in New York.
Mhm.
So at the time we were living in Indiana. So we flew to Indiana, and I was like, I don't want to try Ethiopian food in Indiana. Like it just didn't sound right. I just thought we waited,
Yeah.
and we didn't have the first time we had Ethiopian food was like the third day here. The school took us to like this really nice Ethiopian
Mhm.
restaurant. So
It was really nice.
yeah, and everyone tried the food. My son only ate a roll, and that's back home. He just eats bread and says
Yep.
he's hungry and eats bananas when we get home.
Okay. So we have another comment from Johnny, and this is in the where we're talking about the education. He says he
Mhm.
thinks it's worth noting that your kids are going to different schools than they would go to in the US. So you were saying when you moved back to Indiana, they were like at the top of their class.
Mhm.
So maybe comparing the top schools in Ethiopia versus the top schools in the States. But what you're saying is they have access. There's more access to those top schools if
Well,
you're
and
moving.
that's why I said I don't want to make too much. I don't like to talk about things that I know nothing about, that I know nothing of.
Mhm.
So I don't work at a public school in Ethiopia, but I have eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that my kids are very lucky and privileged to be going to ICS, because I'm telling you, it's one of the best schools that I myself as an educator have ever worked in or experienced. Like, I love the professionals, I love the diversity, I love the rigor. And I'm also cognizant that I worked at Atlanta International School in the States, which is also a top international school in the US. And without saying too much and saying enough, I think that my kids excelled more here at ICS than they would have at AIS. Now, would I say the same were true at a public school? I wouldn't know. My kids went to public school in the States, but they haven't been to public school in Ethiopia.
Right.
And I know that the public schools, from what I've been told, aren't the best in the country. And they're also not the best in the country in the States. So I don't know how like that process works. I also don't think that my children could thrive at a public school in Ethiopia because they don't speak Amharic.
Okay.
Like, would be really hard to be taught everything in Amharic, which is a completely different sound. But there's not letters as far as like I can't think of it, like, it's not the Arabic letter system. Like, there's symbols. Like, I don't think they would thrive because of so many other things.
Right.
Okay, so we have a question here from Samantha Edwards. So she wants to know how, which is my cousin, hi. She wants to know how it is navigating the school system. So here, you need your birth certificate, you need your address, and then you're pretty much good to go. So over there, how is it with the school system?
Well, from my perspective, we went through the international market. So let's say Susie and John are here working for the U.S. Embassy. This international school would pop up on their radar. People who are working at the embassy would know and encourage you, hey, you should try out this school. It's an international school. They're safe, good education, and you have an equivalent diploma that you can use in the States or Canada or UK. And so
yeah, I don't think navigating the school system is hard at all.
Yeah.
It's very similar. Like, if you were going to register at a public school or a private school, everyone has a process. You need to have your documentation, your vaccinations, your birth certificate. It's pretty standard.
Okay. So what was the process?
Also, sorry, I think we might have skipped the question. It says elbow room. I don't want us to miss anyone's questions.
Where do you think you will live in 5 years?
It's funny you asked this. We've been having this.
Yeah, we actually have
dialogue.
We have that exact conversation because our son's in 5th grade.
Yep.
And our daughter is in 2nd grade. So we're always kind of like, oh, the best transition to move again would be in like 4 or 5 years. Because our oldest will be going to 9th grade.
Correct.
And our second will be going to 6th grade. It's like a perfect transition. Like, you're going to high school and you're going into middle school. We have no idea. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, that's a tricky question we've been going back and forth on, because at least for me, from my perspective, one, we absolutely love the school. Absolutely love the school. We love it for our kids and we love it for our professional development. So then that means, depending on how everyone's still enjoying the process, I mean, we might be here till they graduate.
We're not gonna. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't agree with that statement at all.
No, I'm serious. Because in 5 years, we might still be here.
I have not lived 10 years anywhere in my entire life of living. So that's very unlikely. Maybe for him, because he's stuck around places. And I'm telling you, I have bounced around the entire nation since I was a baby. Like, as a baby, I had lived in North Carolina, Germany, Kentucky, Southern California, Northern California. Like, my family has traveled as military.
Yes.
So I have never in my life lived anywhere in my life. I don't know what this guy's talking about.
And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, this has been, for me, I can't speak for my wife, the happiest I've been seeing my family thrive, seeing the kids thrive with friends and the language and the culture, seeing my wife happy in her environment and her professional development.
Are you saying that like here, like Wait,
Yeah.
like Ethiopia or just like outside of the country when we decided to leave the States?
I'm talking about right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about right
I
now.
wouldn't agree with that either, but
Yeah, that's just my perspective, and I love that. So if this continues and I just see the trajectory only growing, I would say here in 5 years. If not here, in 5 years, I would honestly say probably the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I would say
Because
that's more likely for me.
because
No, this is the thing. Like, I'm not, because I love Ethiopia. Everyone here has welcomed us with open arms, and I love the country. But if I'm thinking realistically, I would like to be here long term as like 4 to 5 years for stability for my kids and to get to know the country and see other parts of Africa. However, I think a really big factor for me is we are so far. Like whoever's watching right now, I don't know what time it is there, but it's 8 o'clock at night right now here. So I have family. It's like what, 6 in the morning someplace where they are. And I think that's what time it is in California. I don't know what time it is. Maybe I'm exaggerating.
Okay,
But a 15-hour direct flight to Atlanta. I was looking at flights to Indiana and it was like 30 hours.
What?
Connecting flight.
Because you have to connect. You have to like fly to Turkey, wait 5 hours, then fly, I don't know, somewhere else.
Country. Yeah.
And then take the 15-hour flight to Chicago and then fly to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, we're never going to do that. And I'm always going to fly to Atlanta, stay there for like a week to catch my parents. So for me, I can't see us being here longer as my parents get older. Especially having to see my stepdad pass so quickly before my eyes. I want to be able to go home more as my parents get older. I want to go to my dad's 4th of July barbecue. I want to go to my mom's on her, like, to say happy birthday and not just wait until the summer. And it's just so hard because we're so far, which is why sometimes I think like, well, maybe we can go to West Africa in like 4 to 5 years. I could see that being a possibility. But because I want my family to be able to get to me, and I don't see that as unless they just come live with us. But I can't imagine my mom and my dad and your parents living with us all together.
Okay.
As you can see, ongoing, good, healthy debate.
On where to
but
live.
Both agree that there's no way it's America. Do you want to live in the States?
Right now, no.
Yeah, I think we can both agree. Like, could you see yourself living in America in 5 years?
No, not in 5 years.
You remember that time like 5 minutes ago and you're like, the happiest we ever lived? Did that include America? Did not include the United States. Actually, the 6 months that we went back, it was like, oh my gosh, we used to live like this?
Yeah.
We used to work this hard. And don't get me wrong, I work hard now. But for so little to be like, can you get a pizza tonight? Right. Are we going to be able to afford to go to that baseball game?
Right.
Like to work so hard nonstop, like work follows you home. Right. To not be like, and I live in a nice house. Like, not I live in a house. Like, if I'm going to work that hard, that many hours, and then when I'm at work, I'm like, I don't even have a lunch. I have a working lunch where I'm like eating and working. Then I want to live in a nice house, in a nice neighborhood, and my kids go to a good school.
It's definitely a lifestyle factor as to the why not. you definitely consider not finances, because especially living in Cabrera, you realize like it has nothing to do with finance. It has everything to do with your quality of life from you to your kids.
And I think you mentioned Cabrera because okay, come on, Nelly. I think our daughter's movie went off. I think Ian mentions Cabrera. Nelly, you want to say hi to everybody? Hi. Nelly, can you tell everybody what's one thing you like about Ethiopia?
I love the trips.
You love the trips. What about your school?
I love my school. My favorite school is ICS.
Okay.
The one you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, pretty girl.
Bye, Mommy.
Bye. I think Ian mentions Cabrera because at Cabrera we weren't at an international school, and this is not something that we need to state or even hide. But working at an international school, there are so many benefits that are financial. At an international school, the school pays for your plane tickets. They pay for your visa process. They pay for your housing. They pay for your utilities. They pay for your kids' tuition. They pay you in dollars. Like there's so many benefits to work at an international school that are is a financial gain. And when you have more money, you have less stress. I don't know what people are talking about who complain and like, oh, money's not everything. When you have more money, you have less stress. Period. But when we went to Cabrera, we weren't at an international school. We were just a family that moved to the Dominican Republic, just like somebody would immigrate to the States that found jobs. So that means we were responsible for our own visas and our own plane tickets and our own medical care. And we weren't making dollars, we were making pesos. So I think we made the equivalent of maybe like $500 a month.
Yeah.
Like we did not make any money in Cabrera. Like we weren't there to make money.
Right.
However, we were so happy.
We had a rich lifestyle.
We were so happy. Like in the States, I made no money and I was not so happy. Like I made no money in Dominican Republic. And we shopped with the Dominicans. We ate with the Dominicans. We lived with the Dominicans. We were so immersed in the culture. That's why I know how to make habichuelas. That's how I know how to make pollo guisado. Because you go to there's not a big grocery store waiting for you in a small town in Dominican Republic. There's a guy in a truck who drives by and he's like, I got eggplants today, I got chickens today, I got corn today. And like, whatever he's in that truck, you are going to make it. You're going to figure it out. And so it was a harder life, but it was so much more fulfilling. And we were so happy there.
Okay, so speaking of housing, how much do you spend on housing in Ethiopia versus the other 3 places you've lived?
So again, it's something I don't think we can speak on because we work in an international school and the schools provides us housing. So our school actually provides like a brand new apartment for teachers to live in. It's really nice and modern.
Yeah.
But what I've been looking at, Addis is very expensive. Addis, the city, is very expensive. I've heard of apartments going for like $2,000 a month.
Okay.
But again, I don't think a house in New York, an apartment in New York probably is more than $2,000. So I guess it's like relevant.
And that's USD versus their currency.
Yeah, we're not talking about, but we're talking about USD.
A lot more for those who are locally here.
Yeah.
When we were living in Cabrera, I don't know what we paid. I think it couldn't have been more than $100. I don't think it was that.
That's a good point.
We have a video on our YouTube channel. So like Minerves in the mood. No, but there is a video. I think we paid like $100 a month.
I don't remember.
And it included everything. It was a 3-bed, 2-bathroom apartment, fully furnished, electric. I think we paid like $100 a month. But again, we weren't living in like Santo Domingo.
Right. We were north of the country.
Yeah, in a very small town where literally you'd walk down the street and people were like, where are you guys from? You know, you're not from here. Like, why are you here? Because people usually go to Santo Domingo.
Right.
Or Punta Cana or something. Yeah.
Is that me?
No, that's me. I was like, I didn't put my phone on sleep mode. After I told you, like, put it on sleep mode.
I was looking, I was like, I don't see anything. I was like, where is this coming from? Okay. So what was the process of moving, like your visa? So because you're at the international school, I assume it's easier that they helped you with the visa process and they helped you with the moving process. They helped you with so this one is easy. But what about, I guess, the DR when you did it yourself?
Okay, well, I have 2 answers to that. You want to go first, though?
No, go for it.
Okay. First question is like people who are watching are like, oh my gosh, they have the school do everything and I'm not a teacher. If you're watching and you're like, I want to move abroad and I'm not a teacher and she's saying all these great benefits, education is a great way to move abroad for the first time and to like that be your jump start to like live overseas, even if you're not a teacher, because you don't have to be a teacher to work at a school. International schools have nurses, counselors, therapists, speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, admission officers, people who work in the business department, the marketing manager who does the marketing. So there is probably a position for you at an international school in education, even though you're not working in a classroom or with children.
Right.
So if you're like, oh, I need someone to, I need to work at a job that has going to give me a visa and housing and help me along the way, I highly recommend you using education as your compass or whatever to do that. And to answer your, hey, Dr. Linda, hey. I also, with Dominican Republic, the visa, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. The visa rules are really lax in Dominican Republic. So we went there.
Yeah.
We bought tickets there, and you just keep paying to extend your visiting visa. Basically, it's not called visiting visa. I don't know what it's called.
Your travel visa.
Yeah, you just keep paying to extend it.
Yep.
So we hadn't thought that far in advance, but from the people that we met who were there, a lot of Canadians, they were like, "Yeah, I just pay to keep extending my visa."
Yeah.
Okay. And let's see if I have any other. So is there one thing you can share with fans that they haven't seen or that they don't know of?
So we were talking about this last night because I was like, I feel like we tell everybody everything. Like, what's something that...
Right.
And then we were like coming up with these morbid jokes, like, remember that time I got hit by a car? Should we tell them that? I don't. Like, Ian, did you think of something that we haven't told anybody?
Similar, just those morbid life things where, yeah, we haven't shared it, but it's things that everybody goes through. Like, before we...
Are you going to talk about the Google?
I'm going to talk about it.
Let me say it. I'm going to say it. Okay. So before we started our channel, Minerves on the Move, and, before I married Ian, my last name was not Minerve.
Nope.
There is nobody with the last name Minerve. I'm telling you. It's like...
Yeah, if it is, it's kinfolk.
Yeah, if it is, it's him. Like, people are like, do you know Ian Minerve? I'm like, yeah, that's my husband. Like,
or my dad.
Or his dad, who's also Ian Minerve.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, you can do this right now. Maybe it'll still pop up. If you type in Jocelyn Minerve on Google, several articles pop up about this time we got robbed when I was pregnant back in the States. Like it's like an article. It's like pregnant woman gets robbed. And it was horrible. Like, I don't know if I'm going to continue the story because it got better in the end.
So yeah, it started horrible. Obviously we got robbed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know how or why.
So I was pregnant and they stole all of our baby stuff.
Yeah.
So somebody sends stuff to your house for like a shower or a registry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They clean it all. Like, who steals baby stuff? And Monty Nelly, Mari wasn't born, but Monty Nelly's kid stuff. They just stole all our kid stuff.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And so we felt very close to our street in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone was connected. So they're talking and trying to help us out as best as they can. So
we wrote an article. We wrote a post in the Facebook.
Jocelyn wrote a post in the Facebook.
Like, we have a neighborhood Facebook, and I just basically told everyone.
What had happened.
We didn't get robbed like at gunpoint. We got robbed. We were in the house, and somebody ripped the siding of our house. Like, literally ripped a hole into our house.
Mm-hmm.
And crawled in the hole of the house and stole everything through the garage.
It was a junkie.
Yeah, it was. So this, I'm telling you, when people say the States is dangerous, I'm like, every bad thing that's ever happened to me was in the States. So yeah, because who does that? They rip. Can you imagine somebody ripping the siding of your house until they get a hole?
No.
And
have you been robbed anywhere else?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, in Atlanta, like in Atlanta.
Also in the U.S.
Yes, only in America. So I don't know what people are talking about. And I mean, we didn't live in the best places in America. We could not. Like, we were 2 teachers with 5 kids. I know people who are lawyers who are living paycheck to paycheck. We were 2 teachers. Mm-hmm. Google how much a teacher in Georgia or Indiana makes. Like, nothing. So yeah, they stole all our stuff. And the silver lining. I posted in the group. We did it together. We were like, hey everyone, we just want you guys to know that there's somebody who's ripping through people's homes and stealing stuff. Like, this is what happened. So watch out. Like, keep your stuff upstairs in the basement. I don't know. Silver lining.
No, I thought you were going to. So from that, some reporter reached out to us and asked if it was okay to go ahead and interview what happened. Mm-hmm. I didn't think much of it. I asked Jocelyn if she was okay with it. She said yes. We went ahead and did it. So now we're on the news. So we end up on the news. And from that and the post that Jocelyn sent, there was just this outpour of support from the community.
Yeah.
Where a lot of strangers, absolute strangers,
Yeah.
bought back or donated all the gifts that were stolen for the children.
And it was better.
And it was, it was better than what was taken.
Better. Like way better. Like we didn't have the nicest stroller ever. It was just like whatever was the cheapest at Target. So people were donating money, people were sending stuff.
Mhm.
Like it was, and that's the thing is like when people say America's so divided, but humans are humans. Like people didn't care what race.
Yeah.
They didn't care about religion. Nobody cared about our gender. Like everyone just came together and was like, that's so messed up. And people just poured in from everywhere.
Yeah, all walks of life.
My Spelman community,
school community, the law enforcement.
Yeah,
it was just really nice to see humanity at work.
Yeah, because you got to realize at this time I was pregnant with 2 little kids. Ian was the only one working at this time because he, as a teacher in Indiana, and so I was like, we're gonna die. Like when that happened, I was like, we have no money and we're gonna die, and we're gonna be poor forever, and our kids are just gonna not have diapers.
So now you know.
We have a comment here from Elbow Room. She's so happy that you guys are having a wonderful life experience.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
Appreciate that.
Taylor's my Spelman sister, and we also went to high school together, so we go way back. So thank you so much.
Good. So we're going to start wrapping up here. If anybody has any last questions or comments that they want to ask, feel free to put it in the chat, and we can maybe get to 1 or 2 more. Otherwise, I am so thankful to have you on the channel. This has been a great chat. I feel like I learned a lot just about even international schools. You know what? I do have another question. So what if people, because I'm here in the US, but sometimes in the summer I have a lot more flexibility. So does your school offer like a summer camp or any kind of summer program for international students?
They do. However, I don't think that it would be like a 3-month type contract. However, there is a program, and I cannot remember the name at all, but I read it. There's a group that I'm a part of. It's called Teachers on the Move. It's a Facebook group. It's called Teachers on the Move, and it's for educators who want to live and work abroad. And that was something that they were discussing. I know that they exist, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Also, there's a summer program. I think it's either IES or CIE. It's one of the study abroad programs for colleges. And they really market to teachers because they have it in the summer where you go to like these secondary schools abroad, and they need people to do like all summer for weeks. So that I know for a fact that exists. It's either IES or CIE. It's a summer program. They have these programs all across Europe, Asia, Latin America, and they're like 3 to 12 weeks. And they just need people who work in education or have experience with children. And you go with high schoolers all like across. Because I had thought like, oh, maybe I will do that, over the summer or something. I won't because I have 3 kids and I've got too much going on in my life. But
also, if you want to, let's say you're interested in a particular country, reach out to a school over in that country and just ask, hey, are you looking for any volunteers? You'd be surprised the response you would get. People are open to it. Matter of fact, the school that we were at in Cabrera had a lot of volunteers. We only saw them for the summer. Obviously, we chose to stay, but then they left after the summer and had a great impact, great experience.
Yeah. And that school's called Puentes de Esperanza. Let me say it not in its accent. Puentes de Esperanza. Puentes de Esperanza is in Cabrera, Dominican Republic, and they're always looking for summer volunteers. I love that community.
It's a wonderful community as well.
So that's definitely something. If you want to volunteer, give back. You're not going to make money because it's a volunteer experience, but it's great.
Okay. So thank you so much for chatting with me, and hopefully we could do it again, maybe an update in a year or so and see where you guys are.
Yay, that would
would
be
love
great.
that.
It was so nice meeting you. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing more videos, interviews on your channel.
Likewise.
Yeah, I just love to see us out there doing it big. So it's great.
So where can people find you?
People can find us at youtube.com/@Minerves on the move. So our last name, Minerves on the move. We're also on Instagram at Minerves on the move, and we have our Facebook page at Minerves on the move. And coming out soon, we'll have our own webpage where you can do consulting with us and learn about traveling abroad and opportunities. That's going to come out next year. So it's in the works, though, you guys.
Nice. I'm sure that'll be fun. You have a lot of knowledge, so I'm sure that'll be great.
Thank you.
Okay. Until next time.
Until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.